The HOA Karen who'd just smashed 6 disabled veterans' hand-carved Christmas gifts was now pounding on my garage door, screaming in pure panic. At 6 a.m., Beverly Hartwick broke in with bolt cutters and destroyed the wooden toys these wounded warriors, heroes who'd lost limbs defending our freedom, had spent months carving for their kids. Why? She said my free woodworking program for vets lowered property values, and their wheelchairs were eyesores. For months she'd harassed them, fake complaints, insults about prosthetics, endless threats. She picked the wrong garage. I'm a retired locksmith. The door auto-locks from outside, designed to trap intruders until police arrive. Now she was stuck in the dark with broken toys and sawdust, her meltdown fully recorded on camera. Karma locked the door and called the sheriff. Drop A if you'd trap anyone who ruins Christmas for disabled veterans' kids. Where are you watching from? Let me back up and tell you how we got here. My name's Jake Torino, and 3 years ago I thought moving to Pinewood Estates would bring me peace after my wife Sarah passed. She was an Army nurse, toughest woman I ever knew. And after her funeral, I couldn't stand the silence in our old house. So I bought this place. 2-car detached garage, perfect for the workshop I had in mind. What I didn't expect was Beverly Hartwick watching me from her kitchen window with binoculars like some suburban CIA agent. I'm a retired master locksmith, 30 years of fixing what's broken, securing what matters. After Sarah died, I needed something to fill the hours, something that honored her memory of helping people heal. That's when I started the Thursday night workshop. The garage became a sanctuary, the smell of fresh-cut pine mixed with machine oil and hope. You could hear the whisper of hand planes shaving maple, the satisfying chunk of chisels cutting dovetails, and something even better, genuine laughter from men who'd forgotten how. Tommy Rodriguez showed up first. Triple amputee from Afghanistan, lost both legs and his left arm to an IED. Watching him guide a spokes halve across Walnut with his remaining hand, that's what miracles look like. His 6-year-old daughter was getting a handmade dollhouse for Christmas, and Tommy's smile while building it could power the neighborhood. 8 regulars total. Marcus Thompson, paralyzed from the waist down, crafted cutting boards so smooth they looked like silk. Danny Kim, missing his right hand, mastered one-handed joinery that put most two-handed craftsmen to shame. These weren't charity cases. These were warriors rebuilding themselves one project at a time. Enter our villain, Beverly Hartwick. 47, HOA vice president, real estate agent whose smile could freeze hell itself. Picture a live, laugh, love sign come to life, driving a white BMW with blessed one plates while drowning in vanilla perfume thick enough to choke a moose. She lived 3 houses down, and apparently disabled veterans learning woodworking violated her perfect suburban fantasy. First complaint arrived after 2 weeks, noise violations. The sound of quiet conversation at 7 p.m. somehow disturbed her peace. When that failed, she tried unauthorized commercial activity. When I proved the grandfather clause protected my garage, she switched tactics. Those wheelchairs are eyesores, she told Tommy to his face during a community meeting. This neighborhood has standards. The crunch of gravel under her designer heels as she walked away echoed like gunfire. Tommy just nodded politely. These guys were used to civilian ignorance, but I watched her cruelty crush something in him. Beverly's harassment escalated weekly. Anonymous complaints to code enforcement. Threatening letters about unauthorized gatherings. She'd park across the street during our sessions, photographing disabled veterans like they were criminal suspects. The breaking point came at the grocery store. Beverly cornered Marcus, called his prosthetic legs disturbing, suggested he shop elsewhere. This woman just told a 3-tour Iraq veteran with 2 Purple Hearts that he didn't belong in his own neighborhood. That night, I researched Beverly's background. Turns out our HOA queen was broke. Real estate license suspended for fraud, $85,000 in unpaid liens, bankruptcy looming. My veteran workshop, with its wheelchairs and prosthetics, was scaring away the luxury buyers she desperately needed. So she decided to eliminate the problem, permanently. Here's what Beverly didn't understand. You don't terrorize people who've already sacrificed everything for freedom. And you definitely don't mess with a locksmith who's been planning your downfall since complaint number 1. I installed security cameras that night. For insurance, I told her when she asked. Really, I was building a case. 30 years fixing locks taught me something valuable. People who pick at security usually pick fights too. The trap was already being set. Beverly just didn't know she was about to step right into it. Beverly's first real attack came on a Thursday evening in October. I was showing Marcus how to sharpen a hand plane when someone knocked on my garage door. The sound echoed like a funeral bell through our sanctuary. Danny Reeves stood there, city code enforcement inspector with a clipboard and the expression of a man being forced to kick puppies for a living. "Sorry, Jake, got a complaint about noise violations. Have to check it out." 8 disabled veterans stopped working. The silence was deafening. Tommy's half-finished dollhouse sat abandoned while a city employee treated these heroes like criminals. The smell of fresh pine shavings suddenly felt suffocating. But here's where it gets interesting. Danny stepped closer, lowered his voice. "Jake, you trained me 15 years ago at Morrison's lock shop. Remember the kid who couldn't tell a deadbolt from a doorknob?" I remembered. Danny was my worst apprentice turned decent inspector. Still had the calloused hands of someone who understood real work. "Someone's been calling daily about your place," he whispered. Same voice, same complaints. 47 calls in 3 weeks. The revelation hit like a sledgehammer. Beverly wasn't just harassing us directly. She was turning the entire city bureaucracy into her personal weapon. Danny glanced around nervously. "My supervisor's getting pressure to find violations. And Jake," his voice dropped to a whisper, "Beverly promised my wife Janet a real estate commission if this inspection sticks. Janet's been pushing me to write you up every night at dinner." The mini twist was beautiful in its simplicity. Beverly had corrupted a city employee's family to destroy disabled veterans' therapy. Even I had to admire the pure evil creativity of it. "What do you need to see?" I asked. Danny went through his charade, checked noise levels. Hand planes register quieter than normal conversation. Measured workshop hours. We wrapped up by 9 p.m. religiously. Examined permits, grandfathered since 1987. Beverly watched from her kitchen window like a gargoyle studying its prey. "You're clean, Jake. Cleaner than most churches on Sunday." Danny handed me his card. "But watch yourself. This woman's not playing games anymore." After he left, the garage felt different. Tommy wheeled over, his weathered face showing the same expression he'd worn in Afghanistan when mortars started falling. "We can find somewhere else to meet." "Like hell." The words came out harder than I intended. "This is your space. Your healing. She doesn't get to steal that." That night, I remembered something from my locksmith training. When someone's picking at your security, you don't reinforce. You pick back. My mentor used to say municipal codes were like locks. Most people don't bother learning how they actually work, so they assume they're locked out when the door's really just sticking. I spent 3 hours reading Pinewood's municipal ordinances. Residential workshops, completely legal, 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. weekdays. Noise limits, hand tools barely register. Beverly's daily complaints weren't just harassment. They were filing false reports with city officials. But here's the beautiful part. My research revealed Beverly's own violations. That Instagram perfect fence around her pool, 2 feet over legal height, her Pinterest-worthy deck, 0 permits on file. Those decorative stones lining her driveway, encroaching on city easement property. I filed 3 complaints the next morning. Same bureaucratic weapon, different target. Beverly's response was swift and predictable. Her BMW appeared in my driveway at 6:30 a.m., engine purring like an angry cat. She sat there for 20 minutes, vanilla perfume drifting through my kitchen window thick enough to gag a rhinoceros, staring at my house with stalker-level intensity. The crunch of gravel under her tires as she finally peeled out sounded like breaking promises. But my counterattack was surgical. By Thursday, Beverly had received 3 violation notices. Fence height correction required, deck permits mandatory, easement encroachment removal demanded. Same bureaucratic torture she'd inflicted on us, delivered with mathematical precision. Thursday's session was different. Word spread through the veteran community about Beverly's harassment campaign. 12 guys showed up instead of 8. The garage buzzed with angry energy and protective brotherhood. Tommy brought his brother-in-law. Marcus invited his neighbor. Danny Kim's VA counselor stopped by to document the therapeutic benefits of woodworking. Beverly's surveillance became obsessive. She parked across the street photographing disabled veterans like they were terrorist suspects instead of heroes building Christmas presents. Her camera flash reflected off my windows while wounded warriors found peace through hand tools and honest labor. That's when I understood Beverly's real target. She wasn't just attacking my workshop. She was attacking the very concept that broken things could heal, that damaged people deserved sanctuary, that community mattered more than conformity. The sound of her car door slamming echoed like a challenge across the neighborhood. Through my security cameras, I watched her pace her living room, cell phone welded to her ear, gesticulating at whoever was unlucky enough to be her audience. Marcus noticed the escalation too. "She's planning something bigger," he said, running his fingers along the cutting board he'd spent weeks perfecting. "This isn't over." He was right. Beverly had just declared war on heroes who'd already survived actual war, but she'd made one critical mistake. She'd turned a personal grudge into a community cause, and communities don't break easily. Beverly's desperation reached critical mass on a Saturday morning in November. She'd been planning this for weeks. I could tell from her surveillance patterns. Less random drive-bys, more systematic observation. She was studying us like a general planning D-Day, except her target was disabled veterans building toys. The setup was almost too easy. Friday night, I staged a conversation with Martha Lane by the mailboxes, loud enough for Beverly's binoculars to catch every word. "Visiting my daughter in Phoenix this weekend," I announced. "House will be empty until Monday." The vanilla perfume cloud hovering behind Mrs. Rodriguez's hedge confirmed she'd swallowed the bait hook, line, and sinker. What Beverly didn't know was that I'd be watching from my bedroom window like a hawk studying a particularly stupid mouse. Saturday, 5:47 a.m. My security system chirped its first alert. Beverly's BMW Ghost floated down the street, headlights dark, moving with all the stealth of a freight train in a library. She parked 2 blocks away, smart enough to avoid my cameras but dumb enough to think I hadn't mapped every angle of approach. She crept through my backyard wearing all black like some suburban ninja. The crunch of frost-covered leaves under her designer boots sounded like a marching band announcing her arrival. You'd think someone planning a felony would invest in quiet shoes, but Beverly had apparently prioritized fashion over function. 20 minutes of amateur lock-picking later, she gave up on subtlety. Out came bolt cutters from her oversized designer purse, the same purse she'd probably used to carry church bulletins last Sunday. The irony was delicious. The sharp crack of metal cutting metal pierced the morning quiet. My neighbor's dogs erupted in a symphony of alarm barking. Any sane criminal would have run. Beverly stepped inside my garage like she owned the place. The electromagnetic lock engaged the instant she crossed the threshold. I'd spent months perfecting this modification after reading about home security systems online. The door looked normal from outside, but once someone entered without the hidden code, steel met steel with permanent enthusiasm. No amount of pushing, pulling, or tantrum throwing would open it from inside. The silent alarm simultaneously GPS-tagged my location and speed-dialed the sheriff with a pre-recorded message about breaking and entering in progress. Beverly's confidence lasted exactly 12 seconds. The moment she realized the door wouldn't budge, her suburban soccer mom composure shattered like crystal hitting concrete. First confusion, rattling the handle like it owed her money. Then anger, shoulder-checking steel with the fury of someone who'd never met a problem her privilege couldn't solve. That's when her phone started dying. The battery indicator dropped from 23% to 15% to 8% in real time. I watched through security cameras as Beverly's face went from annoyed to panicked. She'd been using her phone all morning for photos, GPS, probably texting updates to whoever was stupid enough to be her accomplice. Now she was watching her lifeline drain away in a steel box. "Hello? Is someone out there?" Her voice bounced off concrete walls and workbenches like a pinball of desperation. "This is Beverly Hartwick from the HOA. I'm conducting an official inspection." Phone dead at 6:02 a.m., complete communication blackout. Beverly discovered my emergency landline next, lunging for it like a drowning woman grabbing driftwood. Dead as her real estate career. I disconnected it the night before. She was truly, completely isolated now. The smell of fierce sweat mixed with sawdust created an aroma I'll never forget. She pounded steel with manicured fists, designer nails scraping metal like a caged animal discovering the bars weren't decorative. "Let me out! Somebody help me!" But here's the beautiful part. While panicking, Beverly discovered exactly what she'd tried to destroy. Tommy's half-finished dollhouse sat on my workbench, each tiny shingle hand-cut with love. Marcus's jewelry box gleamed with careful sanding. Danny's toy train cars lined up like wooden soldiers. She'd broken into a sanctuary to crush hope itself, and now hope surrounded her like evidence of her own cruelty. I called the sheriff at 6:04 a.m., 17 minutes after she'd entered. "Jake Torino, 247 Maple Street." Got a trespasser trapped in my garage. She cut through my locks with bolt cutters. Everything's recorded. Suspects contained safely. Deputy Rodriguez arrived 8 minutes later, finding me on my front porch with coffee, master key, and security footage queued on my tablet. Beverly's screams had become hoarse, desperate wails echoing through steel walls. The sound of consequences catching up to someone who'd never faced them before. The hunter had become the hunted. The trap was complete. And Beverly Hartwick was about to discover that breaking into a locksmith's garage was like bringing a knife to a gunfight. Technically possible, but strategically catastrophic. Deputy Rodriguez pulled into my driveway at 6:12 a.m. sharp, 8 minutes after my call. Professional response time, no sirens, exactly what I'd requested. The crunch of gravel under his patrol car tires mixed with Beverly's muffled screaming from inside the garage, creating a symphony of justice I'd been waiting months to hear. "Mr. Torino?" Rodriguez stepped out, hand resting casually on his radio. Mid-40s, built like someone who took the job seriously, with the calm demeanor of a man who'd seen every flavor of suburban stupidity. The smell of his coffee mixed with the crisp November air. "That's me." I met him on my front porch, still holding my coffee mug and tablet with security footage. Suspect's been trapped inside for 25 minutes. No weapons visible, just bolt cutters and what looks like a criminal's starter kit. Beverly's voice echoed from the garage like a banshee trapped in a steel drum. "Help! Someone help me! I'm being held prisoner!" Rodriguez raised an eyebrow. "She's louder than a car alarm and twice as annoying. Wait till you meet her in person. Got the whole break-in on camera if you want the highlight reel." I showed him the footage on my tablet. Beverly approaching with bolt cutters, cutting through my locks, entering my garage with the confidence of someone who'd never faced consequences. The timestamp showed clear criminal intent and illegal entry. Rodriguez nodded. This was going to be the easiest arrest report he'd written all month. "Let's get her out and see what story she's selling today." The garage key felt warm in my hand as I inserted it into the override mechanism. The electromagnetic lock disengaged with a satisfied click. Beverly had gone quiet, probably plotting her defense strategy or having a complete breakdown. The door swung open. Beverly stumbled out like a drunk, leaving last call. Mascara streaked down her cheeks like war paint applied by a toddler. Her Live Laugh Love hoodie was torn at the shoulder, designer yoga pants dusty from sitting on concrete. Her perfect suburban mom facade had crumbled into something that belonged on a mugshot. She spotted Rodriguez and immediately switched into victim mode faster than a politician changes positions during election season. "Officer, thank God, this man kidnapped me. False imprisonment. I demand you arrest him immediately." Rodriguez examined the bolt cutters still gripped in her manicured hands, then looked at my cut garage locks, then back at Beverly's panicked face. Something I'd learned from years of working with cops. They're really good at spotting obvious lies. "Ma'am, I need you to put those tools down and step away from the garage you just broke into. These are evidence of his trap. He lured me here and locked me in that torture chamber." By cutting through his locks with bolt cutters? Beverly's brain seemed to short-circuit like a computer trying to divide by zero. "I was conducting an official HOA inspection. I have every right." "Ma'am, no HOA in America has legal authority to cut locks and enter private property. That's called breaking and entering regardless of what your homeowners association thinks." That's when our audience started gathering. Martha Lane jogged up first, phone already recording everything like she was documenting history. The Hendersons emerged from next door, drawn by the commotion. Mrs. Patterson appeared with her poodle, who immediately started barking at Beverly like he could smell the crazy. Then came the real kicker. Channel 7 news van pulled up. Martha had called them during Beverly's imprisonment, and they'd arrived just in time for the arrest. The cameraman started rolling while reporter Lisa Kim checked her microphone. Beverly spotted Tommy wheeling up the driveway, and her desperation reached critical mass. "See? I told you this was illegal commercial activity, unauthorized gatherings. This violates residential zoning." Tommy stared at her with the same expression he'd worn when IEDs exploded around his convoy. "Ma'am, I'm a disabled veteran building toys for my daughter. What exactly is illegal about healing?" The growing crowd murmured agreement. Beverly's support network had officially shrunk to zero. Rodriguez pulled out his handcuffs with the weary efficiency of someone who'd arrested too many entitled suburbanites. "Beverly Hartwick, you're under arrest for breaking and entering, criminal trespass, and possession of burglary tools. This is discrimination, harassment, police brutality." You have the right to remain silent, and honestly, I recommend using that right. Rodriguez began Miranda while Beverly continued her meltdown for the cameras. I'm HOA vice president. I protect property values. Those wheelchairs are eyesores. The crowd's collective gasp was audible. Beverly had just confessed her real motivation on live television while handcuffed for felony breaking and entering. Tommy's voice cut through the silence like truth through bullshit. She just called my legs eyesores, while being arrested for breaking into my therapy space. The metallic clank of the patrol car door closing sounded like a gavel hitting justice. Through the rear window, Beverly was crying. Not from remorse, but from realizing she'd just destroyed her life on camera. Reporter Kim approached with her microphone. Mr. Torino, can you tell us about this veteran workshop? Every Thursday, heroes heal here. That's all that matters. While Beverly sat in county lockup awaiting her bail hearing, I did what any good locksmith does when someone tries to pick their security. I picked theirs right back. The smell of fresh coffee and righteous curiosity filled Martha Lane's living room as we turned her kitchen table into a financial crime scene investigation unit. Jake, you need to see this. Martha's fingers danced across her laptop keyboard like a pianist playing a symphony of scandal. Her paralegal background made her a bloodhound for buried secrets, and Beverly's paper trail stank worse than a fish market in August. The first bombshell hit like a sledgehammer to the face. Beverly's house carried $85,000 in unpaid liens. Tax liens, contractor liens, HOA assessment liens she'd somehow avoided while serving as HOA vice president. The woman lecturing us about property values couldn't even pay her own property taxes. But that was just the warm-up act. Her real estate license got suspended 8 months ago, Martha announced, scrolling through state licensing board records. Failure to disclose material facts to buyers. She was basically running a legal con game, selling houses while hiding major defects. The timeline clicked like tumblers falling into place in a perfect lock. Beverly's harassment campaign against my workshop started exactly when her real estate income evaporated. She wasn't just power hungry. She was financially drowning. Here's where it gets really interesting. Martha pulled up HOA bank statements with the excitement of a treasure hunter finding gold. Remember how Beverly always bragged about her excellent financial management? Our HOA emergency fund should have contained $45,000. Current balance, $13,000. $32,000 missing. Every withdrawal authorized by Beverly's signature on documents that looked more fake than a $3 bill. I learned something important from my locksmith mentor. When people steal, they always leave fingerprints. Beverly's fingerprints were all over expense reports for emergency roof consultations, legal fee reserves, and property management upgrades that existed only in her imagination. The beautiful truth crystallized like ice forming on a winter window. Beverly needed successful house sales to cover her massive debts. My veteran workshop with its wheelchairs and prosthetics was terrifying away the luxury buyer she desperately needed. Her harassment wasn't about neighborhood standards. It was about financial survival. Get this, Martha continued, pulling up another smoking gun. Her husband Marcus doesn't know about any of this. He's been signing bank documents she prepares, but she's intercepting all the mail. Guy works at the bank that handles our HOA account and has no idea his wife's been robbing it blind. Marcus discovering the embezzlement wouldn't just end Beverly's crime spree. It would end her marriage, her freedom, and probably her ability to show her face anywhere in town without people pointing and whispering. But Martha wasn't finished excavating Beverly's criminal empire. She forged board meeting minutes to authorize these transfers. I attended 3 of these supposed meetings. We never voted on any emergency expenditures. This woman's been running a one-person crime wave disguised as HOA business. My phone buzzed with a text from Tommy. Saw the arrest on Channel 7, you okay? I texted back, better than okay. Just discovered our garage burglar is also an embezzler. Her legal troubles are about to multiply like rabbits. Martha grinned like a cat who'd found the canary's safe deposit box. Jake, Beverly didn't just attack your veterans. She stole money from every homeowner in Pinewood Estates. We're talking federal charges, class action lawsuits, and prison time that'll make her garage imprisonment look like a spa day. The irony was poetry in motion. Beverly broke into my garage to eliminate evidence of my illegal activity. Instead, she'd handed me the investigation that would expose her actual illegal empire. Sometimes justice doesn't knock. It picks the lock and lets itself in. By Monday morning, Beverly's arrest footage had gone viral faster than a sneeze in a daycare center. Martha's strategic call to Channel 7 News turned our local HOA drama into a national story about disabled veterans versus suburban tyranny. The video of Beverly screaming, "Those wheelchairs are eyesores," while handcuffed had been shared 89,000 times and climbing. My phone buzzed like an angry hornet's nest with calls from reporters, veteran groups, and neighbors I'd never spoken to before. The Today Show wanted an interview. CNN called twice. Even my daughter in Phoenix texted, "Dad, you're trending on TikTok. Apparently you're a folk hero now." What I'd done was accidentally become the poster boy for standing up to HOA terrorists. Tommy arrived Thursday with a convoy that would have given Beverly a heart attack. 5 additional veterans, plus family members, plus neighbors who'd never set foot in my garage before. The smell of fresh coffee mixed with machine oil and righteous determination. "Word spread through the VA," Tommy explained, wheeling up my driveway with his entourage. "These guys heard about Christmas toys and wanted to help. Hope your garage is big enough for an army." The garage buzzed with more energy than a power tool convention. Hand planes whispered across maple while genuine laughter echoed off concrete walls. The exact sounds Beverly had tried to criminalize. Watching wounded warriors teach civilian kids how to use chisels was like watching healing happen in real time. "Mr. Torino?" Lisa Kim from Channel 7 approached with her cameraman, ready for the follow-up story that would bury Beverly deeper than a time capsule. "Mind if we document how the workshop actually operates?" What followed was 3 hours of television that transformed our local news story into a national feel-good phenomenon. Tommy demonstrated dollhouse construction while explaining how Beverly had insulted his prosthetics. Marcus showed off cutting board techniques while describing her grocery store harassment. The footage was pure emotional kryptonite, impossible to watch without rooting for the veterans. But then came the plot twist that turned everything nuclear. Martha arrived with a briefcase full of documents and the expression of a prosecutor who'd just found the smoking gun. "Folks, we need to discuss something bigger than harassment. We need to talk about federal crimes." She spread Beverly's financial records across my workbench like evidence in a murder trial. Beverly didn't just steal $32,000 from our HOA. She's been running a multi-state real estate fraud operation. The reporter's eyes lit up like slot machines hitting jackpots. Here's something I'd learned from dealing with insurance investigators. When local crimes connect to federal jurisdiction, everything escalates exponentially. Mail fraud, wire fraud, schemes crossing state lines, that's FBI territory, not small-town police work. Beverly sold defective houses in 3 states without disclosing known problems, Martha continued, her paralegal training in full prosecutorial mode. She's facing federal charges that carry 10-year minimum sentences. Her garage break-in just became the least of her legal problems. The community response was swift and devastating. Beverly's bail hearing attracted 67 residents demanding maximum penalties. The judge, faced with overwhelming evidence and community fury, revoked her bail entirely after discovering she'd attempted to liquidate assets and flee to her sister's house in Nevada. Beverly was back in county lockup, this time without the possibility of buying her way out. Our community transformation accelerated like a car hitting nitrous. The Pinewood Patriots organized fundraising that raised $31,000 in 10 days. Local businesses competed to donate materials. The VFW provided legal counsel. Even Beverly's former real estate brokerage publicly denounced her and donated $10,000 to veteran support. But the real magic happened in my garage every Thursday. Sessions grew from 8 veterans to 31, including family members and community volunteers. The sound of children's laughter mixed with power tools while 3 generations worked side by side. Kids learned woodworking from their veteran grandfathers. Wives shared coffee and stories while husbands found healing through honest labor. Beverly had tried to eliminate what she called an eyesore. Instead, she'd accidentally created the strongest community Pinewood Estates had ever seen. One that valued service over conformity, sacrifice over selfishness. The smell of sawdust and Danish oil now mixed with something even better. The aroma of belonging. Veterans who'd felt isolated since returning home suddenly had brotherhood. Families who'd never spoken to neighbors became friends. Kids who'd never met a real hero got to work alongside several dozen every week. Property values increased 12% in 2 months. Turns out, neighborhoods with strong veteran support programs attract families who value honor, integrity, and standing up for what's right. Beverly's worst fear, decreased property values, had become her most ironic legacy. The criminal who'd tried to destroy our community through harassment and embezzlement had accidentally made it stronger than anyone thought possible. Sometimes the best community organizing happens when bullies show everyone exactly what they're fighting against. Beverly's release from county lockup after 3 days looked like a zombie apocalypse survivor crawling out of ground zero. Her parents had liquidated their retirement nest egg to post the revised $25,000 bail, but the creature that emerged bore little resemblance to the polished suburban dictator we'd all feared. The transformation was spectacular in its completeness. Perfect hair now hung greasy and unwashed. Designer outfits replaced with prison-issued sweats that reeked of institutional disinfectant and broken dreams. But the real change was in her eyes. The calculated malice had been replaced by the wild desperation of a cornered rat. The ankle monitoring bracelet adorning her leg beeped like an electronic conscience, restricting her movements to legal meetings and supervised grocery runs. No contact with HOA members, workshop participants, or anyone with functioning brain cells. Justice now came with GPS tracking and a daily reminder of consequences. Her first desperate move was hiring Thomas Kellerman, an $800 per hour criminal defense attorney who specialized in explaining why rich people's felonies were actually misunderstandings. Beverly's parents were funding his yacht payments with money they'd saved for cruise ships and grandchildren's college funds. My client was entrapped by an elaborate scheme, Kellerman announced to Channel 7 News, standing outside the courthouse like he was defending Joan of Arc instead of a garage burglar who'd terrorized veterans. Mr. Torino deliberately created a trap designed to humiliate a concerned community leader. I nearly spit coffee across my kitchen watching that interview. Beverly's defense strategy was claiming I'd somehow hypnotized her into cutting through my locks and committing breaking and entering. It was like arguing the bank robber was victimized by the vault being too conveniently located. But Beverly's real meltdown revealed itself through social media insanity. Her Facebook account, previously showcasing inspirational quotes and property listings, became a paranoid manifesto about veteran conspiracies and neighborhood infiltration. Posts rambled about fake disabilities and government money laundering until her own mother started leaving concerned comments. The mini twist exploded Thursday afternoon like a domestic nuclear bomb. I was teaching a new veteran how to use hand planes when Marcus's pickup truck roared into Beverly's driveway with the fury of a man who'd just discovered his entire life was a lie. Through my security cameras, I watched him storm inside carrying bank statements, credit reports, and what looked like divorce papers. The explosion that followed rattled windows 3 houses away. $85,000? Marcus's voice carried across the neighborhood like a foghorn of marital apocalypse. You stole from veterans while maxing out credit cards in my name? Beverly's response was pure shrieking denial, mixed with victim playing that would have impressed professional con artists. But Marcus had clearly done his homework during her incarceration. Every forged signature, every hidden debt, every fraudulent transaction was about to be laid bare like evidence at a war crimes tribunal. 30 minutes later, Marcus emerged with suitcases, both kids, and the expression of a man who'd just discovered his marriage was actually a long-term financial scam. He loaded his family into the truck and peeled out, leaving Beverly alone in a house that would soon belong to creditors. Here's something I learned about electronic monitoring from my locksmith days. When people are electronically tethered, they often test boundaries like caged animals probing for weaknesses. Beverly's ankle bracelet violations started immediately, triggered by her obsessive drive-bys past my house. Each violation added fresh legal complications to her mounting troubles, but she seemed incapable of stopping her self-destructive surveillance. By evening, a desperate "for sale by owner" sign appeared in her yard. Not the tasteful real estate placard she'd once planted for clients, but a hand-painted plywood scream of financial emergency that could be seen from space. The smell of chain smoking began wafting from her house like a chimney of desperation. Beverly had hidden her cigarette habit for years behind vanilla perfume and breath mints, but stress had stripped away all pretenses. Neighbors reported bizarre midnight behavior, talking to herself while collecting mail, doing yard work in her pajamas, standing in her driveway, staring at my garage like it had personally murdered her dreams. Martha organized Neighborhood Watch specifically to document Beverly's increasingly unhinged behavior. The woman who'd once commanded HOA meetings with iron-fisted authority was now the subject of protective surveillance and concerned whispers. Her most desperate gambit came when she tried recruiting remaining board members for a Beverly Defense Fund, claiming her arrest was part of a veteran conspiracy to overthrow suburban civilization. The response was swift and unanimous. All board members resigned rather than associate with her legal radioactivity. Beverly had become HOA vice president of absolutely nothing. Her attorney bills devoured remaining assets while creditors circled like vultures over roadkill. The house entered foreclosure. Her BMW vanished overnight, repossessed by lenders who didn't care about personalized license plates. Watching Beverly's empire collapse was like observing a controlled demolition in slow motion, except she was operating the explosives herself, one felony at a time. The electronic beeping of her ankle monitor became our neighborhood's daily reminder that bullies who terrorize heroes eventually face justice with batteries included. Beverly's complete psychological breakdown became prime-time entertainment when investigative reporter Sarah Martinez from Channel 12 decided to dig deeper into our suburban crime saga. What started as a feel-good story about veterans versus HOA tyranny evolved into a documentary-worthy expose of systematic white-collar crime. We've discovered that Beverly Hartwick's criminal activities extend far beyond Pinewood Estates, Martinez announced during Thursday's evening news, her voice carrying the gravity of someone unveiling a major scandal. Our investigation has uncovered a multi-state pattern of real estate fraud, embezzlement, and harassment targeting vulnerable populations. The bombshell revelations came faster than machine gun fire. Beverly had been running similar schemes in Arizona and Nevada, targeting elderly homeowners and disabled residents with fake HOA violations and fraudulent property assessments. Her methodology was surgical. Identify communities with valuable properties occupied by people she considered undesirable, then systematically harass them until they sold below market value. But the real nuclear explosion came when Martinez revealed Beverly's connection to a larger fraud ring involving 3 real estate brokerages and 2 mortgage companies. The FBI had been investigating the network for 18 months, and Beverly's garage break-in had provided the final piece of evidence they needed for federal indictments. My simple security trap had accidentally exposed a criminal enterprise worth over $2.3 million in stolen assets. The mini-twist that sent Beverly over the edge was discovering that Marcus, her ex-husband, had been cooperating with federal investigators for weeks. His position at First National Bank gave him access to financial records that revealed the full scope of Beverly's criminal network. The man she'd betrayed was now the key witness who would destroy her completely. Beverly's public meltdown happened at the worst possible location, Walmart, during peak shopping hours with dozens of cell phone cameras rolling. I wasn't there personally, but the footage went viral within hours. Beverly, wearing the same unwashed sweats she'd lived in since her arrest, spotted Tommy in the electronics section shopping for his daughter's birthday present. What happened next was pure unhinged rage mixed with suicidal stupidity. "There's the faker!" she screamed across the store, loud enough to wake hibernating bears. "He's not really disabled. It's all a scam for government money." Man Tommy, a triple amputee who'd lost 3 limbs defending our freedom, sat in his wheelchair holding a Disney Princess DVD while a suburban terrorist accused him of faking his disabilities. The contrast was so stark, it looked like a social justice documentary directed by someone with a twisted sense of irony. Store security approached immediately, but Beverly was just getting started. "They're all faking it! Wheelchairs and fake legs to steal sympathy! I'm the real victim here!" The crowd's reaction was swift and unanimous. Shoppers surrounded Tommy protectively while someone called police. Beverly's ankle monitor started beeping violations as she moved beyond her permitted grocery shopping zone, chasing after Tommy while screaming conspiracy theories that would have embarrassed flat earthers. "Ma'am, you need to calm down," the security guard said, probably wondering why his minimum wage job included dealing with deranged criminals harassing war heroes. "I won't calm down. That man destroyed my life. His fake workshop ruined everything." The footage captured Beverly's complete mental break in high-definition glory. Her unwashed hair flying wild, spittle forming at the corners of her mouth, eyes blazing with the fury of someone who'd lost everything but still couldn't accept responsibility. Meanwhile, Tommy sat quietly holding a children's movie, displaying the same calm dignity he'd shown under mortar fire in Afghanistan. Police arrived to find Beverly cornered in the toy section, surrounded by concerned shoppers and pointing accusingly at a disabled veteran who was trying to buy his daughter a birthday present. The optics were so bad they could have been designed by her enemies. "Beverly Hartwick, you're in violation of your ankle monitoring restrictions," Officer Peterson announced, handcuffs already in motion. "You're also harassing a protected witness in a federal investigation." The federal witness designation was news to everyone, including Beverly. Her face went white as printer paper when she realized Tommy wasn't just a veteran she'd bullied. He was now a key witness in the FBI case that would send her to federal prison. "Protected witness?" she whispered, the fight draining out of her like air from a punctured tire. The second arrest video went even more viral than the first. Beverly being led away from Walmart in handcuffs while Tommy quietly continued shopping for his daughter's birthday present became an instant meme about justice, dignity, and the difference between heroes and villains. By evening, Beverly was back in county lockup with her bail revoked permanently. The judge cited clear and present danger to community safety and witness intimidation as grounds for keeping her locked up until trial. Her public breakdown had accomplished something remarkable. It had turned her from a local criminal into a national symbol of everything wrong with privileged bullies who target vulnerable populations. The woman who'd tried to destroy disabled veterans through harassment and theft had instead become the face of federal white-collar crime prosecution. Sometimes justice doesn't knock politely. It handcuffs you in the toy section while you're screaming at heroes. The federal courthouse in downtown looked like a media circus when Beverly's trial began 6 months later. News vans lined the street like mechanical vultures while protesters held signs reading "Justice for Veterans" and "Lock up HOA terrorists." The smell of hot coffee and righteous determination filled the crisp morning air. Inside, the courtroom was packed beyond capacity. Tommy sat in the front row with 11 other veterans, their wheelchairs and prosthetics forming a wall of silent testimony to Beverly's cruelty. Behind them, 47 Pinewood Estates residents filled the gallery, including Martha Lane clutching a briefcase full of financial evidence that would bury Beverly deeper than a time capsule. Beverly's appearance shocked everyone who'd known her before. 6 months in county lockup had stripped away every pretense of suburban sophistication. Her hair hung limp and gray, designer clothes replaced with an orange jumpsuit that matched her legal prospects. The confident HOA dictator had been reduced to a nervous defendant whose hands shook like autumn leaves. Federal prosecutor Janet Walsh approached the jury with the confidence of someone holding 4 aces in a poker game. "Ladies and gentlemen, this case is about a woman who terrorized disabled veterans while systematically stealing from her community. The evidence will show that Beverly Hartwick didn't just break into Mr. Torino's garage. She broke every bond of trust that holds neighborhoods together." The prosecution's case unfolded like a masterclass in criminal stupidity. Security footage showed Beverly cutting through my locks with bolt cutters, then screaming like a banshee when the trap closed. Audio recordings captured her calling wheelchairs eyesores and prosthetics disturbing. Financial records revealed $127,000 in stolen HOA funds and another $890,000 in multi-state real estate fraud. But the moment that broke Beverly completely was when Tommy took the witness stand. "Mr. Rodriguez," Prosecutor Walsh began gently, "can you tell the court about your military service?" Tommy's voice was steady as mountain stone. 3 tours in Afghanistan. Lost both legs and my left arm to an IED in 2019. Purple Heart, Bronze Star. I was building a dollhouse for my 6-year-old daughter when Mrs. Hartwick broke into our workshop. How did the defendant's harassment affect you? She made me question whether I deserved to exist in my own neighborhood. After surviving war, I almost gave up hope because of one angry woman who couldn't stand seeing broken soldiers heal. The courtroom silence was deafening. Beverly's defense attorney looked like he'd rather be defending serial killers. At least they didn't terrorize war heroes on camera. Beverly's defense strategy was pure desperation wrapped in expensive legal language. Thomas Kellerman argued entrapment, claiming I deliberately lured his client into committing crimes. He suggested Beverly suffered from HOA duty syndrome, a made-up condition that supposedly compelled her to inspect properties illegally. The jury's faces suggested they found his defense about as convincing as a chocolate teapot. "Your Honor," Kellerman pleaded during closing arguments, "my client was simply trying to protect property values in her community." Prosecutor Walsh's response was surgical. "Property values? Mr. Kellerman, your client stole property. She terrorized heroes. She broke into a garage to destroy Christmas presents built by disabled veterans for their children. If that's protection, what does destruction look like?" The mic drop moment came when Judge Patricia Morrison addressed Beverly directly before sentencing. Mrs. Hartwick, you've been found guilty of federal embezzlement, racketeering, breaking and entering, and harassment of protected witnesses. But your real crime was attacking the very people who sacrificed everything for your freedom to live safely in suburban comfort. Beverly finally spoke, her voice cracking like ice under pressure. I was just trying to maintain neighborhood standards. Those wheelchairs and prosthetics, they made potential buyers uncomfortable. Judge Morrison's response cut through the courtroom like a sword of justice. Mrs. Hartwick, those wheelchairs and prosthetics belong to heroes. Your discomfort with their sacrifice says everything about your character and nothing about theirs. The sentence fell like thunder. 18 months federal prison, 3 years supervised probation, $1.2 million in restitution, and lifetime prohibition from any HOA board service nationwide. The courtroom erupted in applause as Beverly was led away in federal custody. She'd entered as a suburban terrorist and left as a cautionary tale about what happens when privilege meets consequences. Outside the courthouse, reporters surrounded Tommy as he sat in his wheelchair, daughter on his lap, holding the dollhouse he'd finally completed during trial breaks. Any message for other communities dealing with HOA bullies? A reporter asked. Tommy smiled with the quiet confidence of someone who'd survived actual war and come out stronger. Bullies count on good people staying quiet. Sometimes you have to build something beautiful to show them what really matters. The crowd cheered as veterans, neighbors, and supporters celebrated justice served with a side of federal prison time. Beverly's reign of suburban terror was officially over, ended by the very trap she'd set for herself. 18 months later, Pinewood Estates had transformed into something Beverly's worst nightmares couldn't have imagined. A thriving community that actually gave a damn about each other. The Pinewood Patriots Foundation had grown from my garage workshop into a countywide program serving 127 disabled veterans across 3 states. What started as Thursday evening therapy sessions became a full-scale operation with satellite workshops, family support programs, and a scholarship fund that had already sent 12 veterans' children to college. The sweet irony was perfect. Beverly's attempt to eliminate our eyesore workshop had created the most successful veteran support program in the state's history. My garage remained the headquarters, but we'd expanded into the community center, the old Methodist church basement, and even Beverly's former house, which the foundation purchased at foreclosure auction for pennies on the dollar. Her BMW parking space now housed a wheelchair-accessible van that transported veterans to workshop sessions. Tommy had become our lead instructor, teaching advanced joinery techniques to newcomers while his daughter Sophia, now 8, helped veterans paint toy boxes and picture frames during family sessions. The dollhouse he'd built during Beverly's harassment campaign sat in our display case as a reminder that beautiful things can grow from ugly beginnings. The technical skills I'd shared about security systems, legal procedures, and community organizing had created something I'd never expected. A network of empowered veterans who knew their rights, understood local ordinances, and could stand up to bullies with both knowledge and confidence. We'd become a community that was bully-proof through education and mutual support. Marcus, Beverly's ex-husband, had remarried and moved across town, but he still volunteered every other Saturday, helping veterans learn basic home maintenance skills. His children loved the workshop environment, finding surrogate grandfather figures in men who'd survived hell and come back with wisdom, patience, and unlimited dad jokes. The financial recovery exceeded everyone's expectations. Beverly's restitution payments, combined with insurance settlements and federal victim compensation, had not only restored the stolen HOA funds, but created an endowment that would support veteran programs for decades. Property values had increased 23% since Beverly's imprisonment. Turns out neighborhoods with strong veteran support programs attract families who value service, sacrifice, and community over conformity. Every house that went on the market sold within a week to families specifically drawn by our reputation for supporting heroes. 6 months ago, we'd received the ultimate validation, a personal visit from the governor, who declared Pinewood Estates a model community for veteran integration and allocated state funding for expanding our programs statewide. The smell of sawdust and Danish oil still filled my garage every Thursday evening, but now it mixed with the sounds of 3 generations learning together. Veterans taught woodworking to teenagers. Spouses shared coffee and support while kids played with toys built by heroes. The healing Beverly had tried to destroy had multiplied beyond anything I'd originally imagined. Beverly herself had been released from federal prison after 14 months with time off for good behavior. She'd moved to a different state, taken a minimum wage retail job, and disappeared into the anonymity she'd always claimed to want. The woman who'd once terrorized disabled veterans was now stocking shelves and living in a studio apartment, her reign of suburban terror reduced to a cautionary tale we shared with new veterans about standing up to bullies. Her former house displayed a bronze plaque reading Pinewood Patriots Foundation, Where Heroes Heal, that could be seen from the street where she'd once parked her BMW to conduct surveillance. The workshop had expanded beyond woodworking to include metal fabrication, electronics, automotive repair, and even small business development. Veterans who'd found healing through hand tools were now teaching skills, starting companies, and becoming pillars of their communities. The lesson was simple and powerful. When you try to destroy something beautiful, sometimes you just make room for something even more beautiful to grow. Last Thursday, a new veteran showed up, a young woman who'd lost her leg in Iraq and was struggling with civilian life. Tommy wheeled over and handed her a block plane, the same tool he'd been learning to use when Beverly first attacked our program. "First project?" he asked. "My son wants a toy airplane," she said quietly. "Perfect. Jake, show her how to start with the wings." As I watched another hero begin healing through honest work and community support, I realized Beverly had given us something unexpected. Proof that the strongest neighborhoods aren't built by excluding people, but by including everyone willing to build something better together. The sound of hand planes shaving wood mixed with genuine laughter, just like always. Some things are worth fighting for: community, healing, hope. And sometimes the best revenge is building something so beautiful that everyone can see what your enemies tried to destroy.
You know, Jack's story reminds me of something I've seen over and over again in these HOA situations. Beverly thought she had all the power because she had the title, the position, the ability to file complaints and make everyone's lives difficult. But here's the thing about people like Beverly. They are used to folks just backing down, getting emotional, maybe yelling at a board meeting. That's actually what they want. Jack did something different. He stayed calm, he documented everything, and when Beverly escalated to breaking into his garage with those bolt cutters, well, that's 18 months federal sentence speaks for itself. The veterans in that workshop didn't ask for any of this. They just wanted a quiet place to heal. But sometimes, standing up to a bully isn't about being the loudest voice in the room. Beverly destroyed her own life trying to destroy theirs. The workshop's still running, by the way. Have you dealt with an HOA board member who thought they were untouchable? Drop your story in the comments. And if this resonates with you, hit the subscribe button. There are more stories like this out there. Sometimes justice takes its time, but it fights people.